Smith? It's an important year for everyone, but I would imagine you feel there's probably more in the tank from John that you can do now that you've known him for a season.
Well, it's a new year for all of us, so.
Sure is.
And be back in person at the NFL meetings. I'll just say I'm a Patriot fan big time first, and more than anything, it bothers me that we haven't been able to win a playoff game in the last 3 years, and I'm happy that I think we had a great draft last year, and it made up for what happened the previous 4 years or so, and I look forward to hopefully having a great draft this year. This is the only way you can build your team for long-term and consistently that you have a chance of winning is having a good draft.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal. White. He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Brady has his 5th. What a comeback.
This is All Eyes on the Pats podcast. Welcome to another episode of All Eyes on the Pats podcast. I'm your host, Steve Atkinson. Got a full show tonight talking Patriots. Thank you, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, for giving me content tonight because, oh man, did Bill Belichick, who talked at the coaches meeting or coaches breakfast on Monday in West Palm Beach, and then Robert Kraft talked yesterday. And let me tell you, I will read what Robert Kraft said. I also played some sound. What you heard was Bill Belichick, who talked on Monday at the coaches' breakfast with the coaches and owners' meetings this week. And Robert Kraft, the second sound I played was Robert Kraft saying it bothers him that the Patriots haven't won a playoff game in the last 3 seasons. And I'm going to play more sound too. And you probably have heard it already, but it's a very interesting way of going about this upcoming season. Last year, the Patriots, spend a lot in free agency. Belichick is forced to draft Mac Jones by Robert Kraft, who said, Bill, you better draft a quarterback. They saw Mac at 15. He told Bill to draft him, and they drafted him. Cam Newton gets COVID, gets cut. Bill Kraft goes to Bill and says, you got to cut Cam now. Mac is the starter. I believe that. And as an opinion, obviously, but I believe that that's what happened because Kraft isn't pleased, right? After hearing what Bill Belichick said on Monday and what Robert Kraft said on Tuesday, I've come to the conclusion that this is a big year for all of them. And Tommy Curran even said it, sure is, meaning it sure is a big year, or it's a new year for all of us. It sure is a new year. It's a new year to either A, fall flat on your face and go backwards because you haven't really done much but have no offensive coordinator. You have no defensive coordinator. You've hired friends. You've hired former coaches to come back. You've hired former players to be coordinators. For example, Devin McCourty for the secondary, Brian Hoyer for the quarterback in the offense, Matthew Slater for the special teams, for Cam McCord. Now you've brought back Malcolm Butler to be the cornerback because you really didn't have anyone else. So it's friends of friends. It's your son's a defensive coordinator, Steve Belichick, former player Gerard Mayo, who should be the defensive coordinator, right? Nick Caley was probably be calling the plays. We don't really know much about him. Matt Patricia failed as a head coach. Now he's Bill Belichick's best friend. He's following him around everywhere like his dog. Joe Judge failed with the Giants. They signed Jabal Peppers from the Giants, who was with Joe Judge. So we'll see how that goes, right? But Joe Judge will be on offense. So it's interesting to listen to Bill Belichick talk, and he didn't really say much, right? I'm going to play some more sound of what he said, talking about he's so excited to have Joe Judge back, and he's so excited to have, Matt Patricia here and helping with the offense. So I'm going to play you Belichick first. So I'm just going to play 2 sounds of Bill, and then I'll talk about it.
Season's the off season. Once we get to getting on the field, coaching the players and game planning and things like that, then that'll all work itself out.
Is your staff complete? And who do you envision calling plays on offense?
I won't be calling any for a while. So we're not calling any for a while. How many games in a row? So, I think our staff is complete. I wouldn't rule anything out, but I don't think we necessarily would hire back. And Matt, of course, and they're 2 really good coaches, along with some of the other coaches that we have offensively, Nick Haley, so Troy, and so forth, guys were here last year. So we're working through it. Do the best we can.
We're working through it, and we'll do the best we can. Well, here's what Robert Kraft said. I'm going to play what he said.
And be back in person at the NFL meetings. And just say, I'm a Patriot fan, big time, first. And more than anything, it bothers me that we haven't been able to win a playoff game in the last 3 years. And I'm happy that I think we had a great draft last year, and it made up for what happened the previous 4 years or so. And I look forward to hopefully having a great draft this year. This is the only way you can build your team for long-term and consistently that you have a chance of winning is having a good draft.
In recent history, that have gone into a season without an offensive or defensive coordinator. So, what's your confidence level in the assistant coaches on the staff right now?
So you're telling me I don't. I think we have it. I think Bill has a unique way of doing things. It's worked out pretty well up to now. So I know what I don't know, and I try to stay out of the way of things I don't know. I think he's pretty good. I don't know, is it over 40 years of experience doing it? So it doesn't sometimes look straight line to our fans or to myself, but I'm results oriented.
Results oriented. So Robert Kraft is a fan first, right? But he's also the owner of the New England Patriots, but he comes across as a fan, right? So when he's speaking to the media, he's talking like an average New England Patriots fan who would call up a radio station in Boston, either the Sports Hub or EEI, and say, okay, exactly what Kraft said. But here's the difference. The difference, obviously, is Kraft is the owner of the team and can fire Bill. It worked up to now because you had Tom Brady here, and he covered up the holes on the team because he pulled the game out of his ass every week. Not every week, but all of the time. Most of the time. 90% of the time, you had Tom Brady who pulled the game out of his ass consistently. So it didn't matter who your offensive coordinator was, or your defensive coordinator was, or who was it didn't matter who your assistant coaches were. You had Tom Brady here, who was recruiting guys. You don't have that anymore. You have Mac Jones, who's going into his critical second year. And I want to read you something that Robert Kraft said about quarterbacks who went into their second year. And you've seen that with Joe Burrow, and you've seen it with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl in his second year. Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl in his second year. They drafted Jamar Chase. Mahomes had Tyreek Hill. Teams with rookie quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, built around them, and they elevated, and they got elevated. Will the same happen to Mac Jones? Robert Kraft was asked this question. I'm going to read it. The question was, on the possibility of a slower build, and if it takes a few years for the team to be in true contention. This is Kraft's answer. Quote, I'd expect it to happen as soon as this year. I think we've made the commitments as an organization. I think we have a lot of talent, some wonderful young men from last year and a couple in the weeds from before. It's a chance for them to grow and hopefully come together, and the team comes together. These young quarterbacks, the good ones in their second year, have usually grown in a great deal. I'm a big fan of Mac Jones. You see how hard he works. He wants everything to go right. He puts the time and energy and his personality as a team guy. So we have a chance. Without a good coach and a good quarterback, no matter how good the other players are, I don't think you can win consistently. Hopefully, I believe we have both, an outstanding coach and a good young prospect at quarterback. So he still believes in Bill, right? He still believes that Bill can turn it around and that this is 2000. He did compare this to like 2001, but 2001 was a lot better team. You had Vrabel, you had Law, you had Brewski, you had Johnson, you had Pfeiffer, you had Seymour. They were loaded. They were loaded on defense. They're not loaded on defense. This isn't 2001. And the AFC in 2001 was just like Peyton Manning. Not even Ben Roethlisberger. Like, it wasn't even close to what it is now. The AFC is loaded with quarterbacks. You need to have a good quarterback and a good coach. So if Bill Belichick has a bad season, he's 6-10, what happens? Does Robert Kraft say, no, it's okay? Or does he say, we need to move on, or you're 70, or they mutually part ways? I think after hearing Kraft talk yesterday, if Bill doesn't get to the playoffs and win a playoff game, he's on the hot seat. He's done. He is on the hot seat. I believe that 100%. There is no way an owner is going to say, I'm not happy that this team hasn't won a playoff game in 3 years. I expect to see results this year, not years to come. We are the New England Patriots. We get results every year. I'm not happy we haven't won a playoff game in 3 years. If any of the other owners said that, their coach is on the hot seat. Same thing goes for Bill. You mean, if I'm Kraft, I'm like, listen. So we agreed to push the greatest quarterback of all time out the door. We said no, because you said that I'm not paying 45-year-old quarterback. Brady's not good enough. So I listened to you. We get Cam Newton. He's terrible, 7-9. Brady wins the Super Bowl, mind you. We spend millions in free agency because the quarterback that was here for 20 years won a Super Bowl and kicked our ass. So and Mac Jones is at 15. I told you to draft Mac Jones. I told you. I literally forced you to draft him. Because we got to draft a quarterback. Cam gets COVID. I forced you to start Mac. Now this year, McDaniels leaves. Takes coaches with him, assistants with him. Director of player personnel. And so Bill brings, Patricia was already here, but brings back Joe Judge and, kind of formulates something. It doesn't really make sense to Robert, but he's results oriented. Okay, Bill, you can do it your way, but if I don't see any results next offseason, we're done. So it could get really ugly if you're a Patriot fan. A year from now, we could be talking about either A, Matt Patricia, or B, Joe Judge as the head coach of the Patriots, or maybe Bill O'Brien. We could be talking about a whole new head coach. Because they may have said, hey, Bill, I think you've lost it. We're not going to fire you publicly. We'll say we mutually part ways. Maybe Bill's contract is up at the end of this year. But Robert Kraft put him on notice yesterday after those comments. So, here's another question Robert Kraft was asked yesterday. How has arms race in AFC caused him to recalibrate expectations for the Patriots? So he says, quote, you can use all the analytics and everything, but until you've played the games and things happen, I think people who don't understand our spot also don't understand the opportunity cost of not having players on the field. If you saw our nutrition staff, our rehab staff, and our weight room people, there is a composite picture of trying to give us a chance to have as many of the guys out there on Sunday as possible. That makes a big difference. I'm really excited and looking forward to this coming year. That really didn't give us a lot. So he was asked if it energizes or frustrates him to see other teams rise after a dominant Patriots run. His answer was, I think what's gone on in the AFC, I don't know what proportion, but the number of top quarterbacks in the league, it looks like there's a higher number in the AFC. But we really have to worry about our situation. Take care of our own business. I can only worry. I'm fortunate. We have a paper and packaging company that's all over the world, over 120 countries. Actually, it's 50 years old this year. So I'm pretty proud of that. But I learned running that company, and I could only concern myself with what I could control. I can't worry about my competition. Secretly, we'd like them to maybe stumble, but I have to focus on our business and make sure we're doing the right thing. Then if you do that, good things happen. I think we had a good period of 2 decades that were unbelievable with the salary cap. We have to find a way to sustain it and keep it going. What he forgot to mention was in that statement, I'm still going to keep, this is not all he said, but he forgot to mention we had Tom Brady for 2 decades. But he's not going to say that. He keeps going. He says, I've said to you, after my family, there's nothing more important to me than the New England Patriots and winning football games. That's my passion. So whatever I can do, hopefully in a small way to make that happen, I'm there. I'm not happy that we haven't won a playoff game in 3 years. I think about that a lot. So he thinks about that a lot. Does he also think, I wonder if he thinks like, I regret doing what I did 3 years ago. Because I think he does. I think he regrets letting Tom Brady walk. I think he should have went to Bill and said, we're going to pay the quarterback. Because we're not letting Tom Brady walk. And then you could have fucking, maybe won the Super Bowl in 2020. Who knows what happens in free agency after that. You draft a young quarterback, Davis Mills, maybe not even Mac Jones at that point because he'd be probably gone. But you'd get another quarterback. He probably, looking back on it, would have kept Brady. And we'll probably never know that answer, or maybe he will say it. Because, again, he's a fan at heart. And Mike Felger said this, too, on 98.5, the Sports Hub, yesterday. He said, when he talks about being a fan first, the fans want wins. The fans want what Kraft wants. They want playoff wins. Kraft's not your typical owner who says, this guy, we're doing what's best for the team, and we know the fans are upset and they're disappointed and frustrated, but it will be all right. No, Kraft's with them. Kraft's with the Patriot fans. Like, he wants results now. He wants wins. Felga said today that he wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots draft a wide receiver in the first round. Now, who knows if that will happen? Because that's what the fans want, and that's what because Kraft made, and I'm sorry, but he did. He made Belichick draft Mac Jones at 15. Okay, no doubt on my mind. He wanted to. Bill would have went defensive end that we've never heard of, and Kraft wasn't going to be for it. I think if the Patriots draft 2 wide receivers in this draft, they'll be good, right? But will they draft one in the first round? Will Kraft make Bill Belichick draft a wide receiver in the first round? I think so. Yeah, why not? Get Mac Jones as Jamar Chase. Build around the quarterback. Let me put it this way. Kraft believes in Mac Jones. Jones is in the building at first. He's always, watching film, getting ready, wanting to know. He's in the second year and wanting to know how to be a leader, right? Learning from Matthew Slater and Devin McCourty. So we can learn from those guys. And he's doing it now. He has some leadership qualities, and he'll get better at it this year. Now, is he the Joe Burrow? Not yet. No, but he could be Joe Burrow if he gets a wide receiver like, with Jameson Williams or someone he went to school with. I know Jameson Williams is coming off the ACL, but someone he went to school with. And just, maybe they have a good connection and they take off like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow did. That's what Kraft is hoping for. Bill's not going to give you answers. He's not going to say, what's going to happen or whatever. He doesn't, because he's a grumpy guy. He's going to be 70. He's a grumpy old man, Bill. So before I move on to Steve's draft board, I just want to say, again, reiterate, Bill Belichick is on the hot seat. If the Patriots go 6-10 and they miss the playoffs, they're going to be in trouble. We're going to be sitting here a year from now saying, okay, well, now we're looking at a new head coach, Joe Judge, Matt Patricia. Who knows? Bill O'Brien. Mutually parted ways. It'll be like when Brady left. They mutually parted ways. We'll see what happens. Here's what I don't want. I don't want Matt Patricia in his barbecue sauce, in his sweet and sour sauce for his chicken nuggets, all over the play sheet, because he can't be in the head coach. I can't. He was such a joke in Detroit trying to be Bill Belichick. It's a joke. And I don't want Joe Judge either because he's a hardo. So we better hope, if you're a Patriots fan, that they have a good season and they win a playoff game, because they could be in trouble. Like Tom Curran said. Well, like Bill said, it's a big year for all of us. And Tom Curran said, sure is. I'll play it again. It's only 15 seconds.
Jonathan Smith, it's an important year for everyone, but I would imagine you feel there's probably more in the tank from Jono that you can do now that you've known him for a season.
Well, it's a new year for all of us, so.
Sure is.
Sure is. Your owner's not happy with you. So if you suck, your ass is on the line. Hot seat Bill. Bill Belichick's on notice. Heard it here first. All right. Offensive line on Steve's draft board. I picked Evan Neal from Alabama. Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick were at the Alabama Pro Day today. This guy's strengths is a king-size tackle with heights and size that cannot be taught, raw power, and natural strength to overwhelm defenders in tight quarters. Very versatile and has played both left and right tackle at an elite level. He's 6'7", 350. He clocked at 18.5 miles per hour on the GPS. Routinely hits box jumps at 48 inches. Neal has bench pressed 475 pounds, squatted 650. He stays balanced and doesn't overextend in pass protection, stays disciplined with good bend and leverage. Easily the most athletic offensive lineman in the 22 NFL draft. Neal. Weaknesses. Height can be a deterrent in short yardage. Defender can get under his pads to hold a line, stops his feet after initial contact. Doesn't have elite quickness off the snap and doesn't possess the top level acceleration to corral defenders once they cross his face. Struggles to adjust if he loses the first move and can be slow in reacting with a counter. Neal has an occasional problem lunging, but his skill set makes him an easy day one starter in the NFL. His summary is Neal is the consensus number one tackle in the 22 NFL draft and is viewed as an almost can't-miss prospect by most scouts. He is an amazing specimen at the left tackle and has pretty much everything you can ask for in a player. However, he isn't just perfect and has some issues. Most notably, he is undeveloped as a pass protector and can be beaten by super fast edge rushers. Despite this, we are very high on Neal and consider him an elite talent that we can see similarities to the Niners' Trent Williams. He's a top 3 pick in the 22 NFL draft. I've gotten this from NFL Draft Buzz online. They had him number 1, by the way. The other guy, Jamari Slayer from Georgia. He's very versatile, has played all positions across the line. This is his strengths. Attacks his man, playing with a wide base and lateral agility to mirror, sustain, and shuffle to help inside. Has the size, strength, and quick feet to be effective as a position run blocker. Has the ability to sink his hips and generate real power with strong hands, consistently moves defenders back, grades out extremely well in every aspect of run blocking, has a naturally wide base, thickly built, and good length, long legs to cover a lot of ground with his initial kick slide, has the quickness to set up quickly with enough lateral shuffle to mirror and mobility to get to the second level. His weaknesses, still quite raw despite having good experience, attacks when necessary, though he won't consistently dominate and can lose balance, hasn't developed quite well as his athletic talent would have led you to expect, stops his feet after initial contact, relying on length, but allowing defender to get the corner of the spin inside, has suffered with injuries. The report summary for this guy is the reviews for Slayer are all over the board, where scouts have pegged him as high as the first 2, low as the 4th round in the 22 NFL draft. The low grades on him are mainly due to him being regarded as an injury risk, although none of them are serious, and he's likely just been a victim of bad luck. We see him as a low 2nd round pick who has sky-high athletic talent, but just hasn't quite managed to achieve what we have hoped. Still, he could very easily become a dominator at the next level if he were to pull it all together. And then number 3, I picked Boston College guy Zion Johnson because I think Steve Belichick was at his pro day, it looked like a month ago, the Boston College pro day, I should say. A smooth athlete with his strengths. A smooth athlete with terrific mobility and footwork, staying light on his feet. He has the lateral range, natural shuffle movements, and lower body quickness to mirror speed rushers. Willing to attack and punches multiple times to finish the play. Quick to pick up edge blitz and shows no panic. Easily adjusting angles and resetting his feet. Can recover and reset his anchor. Rarely late off the snap. very versatile, has experience at guard and tackle, has managed to stay injury-free throughout his entire career. At the Combine, he was 6'2", 314, managed an impressive 32 reps on the bench, and put up a 32 in the vertical jump. Weaknesses. Flashes the ability to move his man with his hands, but is not yet consistent in this area. Needs to work on his technique in pass protection using more consistent leverage and continuing to move his feet. Loses leverage battles and plays with high pad level. Can be laid off the snap. The summary is Johnson is a high floor, mid-level ceiling kind of prospect who has a great skill set, especially as a run blocker. Where we score him highly, he is slightly less accomplished as a pass blocker, but still has skills. Our only concern is that he may never come to dominate in the NFL to the same level he has done at the college game because of his lack of size and power. He could go as high as the first day of the NFL draft. So, those are the three the Patriots could draft. They could draft those three that I just said. Or they draft other offensive linemen. They don't have Ted. They lost Ted Karras and Shaq Mason. So, they do need help at the offensive line, especially facing fucking Von Miller of the Buffalo Bills twice a year. You're really going to need to get Mac Jones protection. It's good that you got Trent Brown back, but, they need some other big guys because Mac's going to get killed. So we don't want that. All right. So again, it's a big year for the Patriots. I appreciate Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft giving me content. Because when they talked, Bill on Monday saying what he said, I don't believe in titles, and when it comes to coaching, and Robert Kraft said, I don't appreciate it, or I'm not happy that we haven't won a playoff game in 3 years. That's putting your coach on notice. I don't care what anyone says. So Bill Belichick and the Patriots better make the playoffs and win a playoff game, or like I said, we could be going in to 2023 season with a new head coach. All right, mark my words. Okay, so I'm going to end with a Tommy Carnes question, and I'm going to call it a night. You guys have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. Go Pats.
Jonathan Smith, it's an important year for everyone, but I would imagine you feel there's probably more in the tank from Jonathan that you can do now that you've known him for a season.
Yeah, well, it's a good year for all of us, so.
Sure is.
And be back in person at the NFL meetings. I'll just say I'm a Patriot fan big time first, and more than anything, it bothers me that we haven't been able to win a playoff game in the last 3 years, and I'm happy that I think we had a great draft last year, and it made up for what happened the previous 4 years or so, and I look forward to hopefully having a great draft this year. This is the only way you can build your team for long-term and consistently that you have a chance of winning is having a good draft.
I'm sorry, before I go, I gotta say, he also called out his own head coach, saying he's had a bad draft the last 4 fucking years. We had a good draft last year, because we drafted the quarterback with Christian Barmore. He better have a better draft this year. We better make the playoffs. We better win a playoff game, or it's gonna be a long off season. So having said that, have a good night, have a good week. Go Pats!